I was hoping for the 7 Mark V to not be good, because I personally own a 7 Mark IV, so if the 5 isn't great, then I'm safe from upgrading. Well, unfortunately, if you're also a 7 Mark IV owner, the fortunate news is, this is a very legit upgrade. It's the perfect recipe for a new mid-range model. A blend of features trickled down from higher-end models, garnished with a few of its very own brand new features. The 7 V is the first camera to run on Sony's brand new Bion's XR2 processor, which I do have a feeling we'll be seeing a lot more of in the years to come. And the sensor, although it's a very familiar number, 33 megapixels, exact same pixel count in fact as the 7 Mark IV, but it is not the same sensor. Tremendously upgraded actually, because this is now a partially stacked sensor. There's actually next to no documentation that's publicly available on how exactly partially stacked sensors work, but I'm guessing based off the name that the stacking happens only on some rows of pixels. What I do know is Sony's claiming readout speeds approximately 4.5 times faster than the 7 Mark IV's sensor. Couple that with the powerful new processor, and what you get are performance figures we've previously seen only on flagships. The continuous shooting speed is now 30 frames per second in electronic shutter mode. This was something which ranked on the scale of insanity when the Alpha 1 first came out. To keep things manageable, the Mark V does inherit from the Alpha 9 III and 1 Mark II the speed boost feature, albeit without a dedicated C5 button for it, so you will have to assign one of your own. That's also not the only feature which has cascaded from the two flagships up top. The customizable AF zones is a nice minor upgrade, but a major one is pre-capture now being finally available in a model attainable by us mere mortals. And it's not nerfed in any way either. You can pre-cap up to 1 full second, just like on the $7,000 flagships. Another familiar sight is the 4-axis tilt and flip screen. It's a higher res 3.2-inch display compared to the Mark IV, and aside from that, the button layout is unchanged from the Mark IV. Same setup for media slots as well, same battery, slightly different design for the mic jack cover if that's worth a note, but what's definitely worth a note are these dual USB-C ports. The upper port supports high-speed data transfer up to 10 gigabits per second, while the bottom port is USB 2, because the idea is you can have one port for data transfer while the other serves as the power supply. If you do use this as a USB webcam, this now supports up to 4K 30p over UVC, which is yet another upgrade from the Mark IV. The 7 Mark V sensor is also claimed to be capable of 16 stops of dynamic range. That's one extra stop over the Mark IV, but we're really gonna have to push and pull the raw files in order to appreciate that, which at this early stage isn't exactly possible yet. So that might be something we're gonna have to revisit. What you're looking at are the straight out of camera JPEGs from the 7 Mark V. I do wish I had more shots to show, but my time with the camera is rather brief, and I was in the midst of moving into this new studio, so here's some shots of that on the Mark V. I did bring the 5 around town for one afternoon in this really neat bag from Grams28. They're not sponsoring this video, but I am giving this bag a shout out because they did offer to send me one and I ended up really liking it. It's not every day you come across a sling which can hold both a 7 Mark IV and 7 Mark V while looking good at the same time. It's called the 302 Adventure Sling if you're interested. And most of this B-roll was shot in 60p and 120p with the 7 Mark V, and that's perhaps the upgrade which got me the most excited, because the way this sensor does video is a bit different. So your frame size in 4K is full frame up to 30p. By default, there is a slight crop in 60p, not as far as a Super 35 crop, but somewhere in between. And when you get 120p, it's now a bit tighter than Super 35, but here's the twist. There is a setting called 4K angle of view priority, and when you turn this on, it completely removes the crop at 60p, so it's full frame 60p, and 120p gets mitigated to a Super 35 crop. Now, I thought this might come at the expense of image sharpness because it's not the original way the sensor was meant to be sampled, but I honestly struggled to find a visible difference between full-frame 24p and the special full-frame 60p, or even between 60p itself with angle of view priority on and off. I tested low light performance as well, and if there is a difference, it's not big or visible enough for me to want to turn angle of view priority off, at least for now. But anyhow, that's great news. One of the huge reasons I much prefer my 7S III over my Mark IV for video is because the Mark IV could only do 4K 60 in Super 35. Now, on the Mark V, you practically have a setting to turn off the crop. Now, about those faster readout speeds on the Mark V sensor, how does that translate into rolling shutter when shooting video? I did the old ceiling fan test at 24p versus the Mark IV, and there's certainly less distortion on the Mark V. I don't think we're quite at 7S III figures yet for rolling shutter, but it's an improvement nonetheless. If you're coming from a Mark IV, the UI when shooting video on the Mark V is also going to be an upgrade. It's more similar to the current 7S III firmware. The overlays block less of your frame, and there's finally the ability to import user LUTs for both monitoring or baking in. With the XR2 processor, the 5 also now gets the full suite of AI subject recognition autofocus, and the rate for AF calculations has also been bumped up to 60 calculations per second, so AF tracking performance should be even closer to the flagships now. IBIS also gets improved to 7.5 stops in the center, and for some reason, even the mechanical shutter sounds different on the Mark V. It's an upgrade consisting of many bits and pieces scattered across stills and video use cases, and combined, this is an upgrade package which gets very difficult to turn down because you're getting what feels like 3/4 of a 1 Mark II at the price point of a vanilla A7. I used to consider the Alpha 1 series the ultimate hybrids, and I've always wanted one, but they've always come at a price point which needed quite a degree of justifying. The 7 Mark V is taking that idea of an ultimate hybrid and bringing it to a height which is just within reach.